I heard the music before I even turned onto my own street. Bass thumping, voices carrying across the cul-de-sac, the kind of laughter that always comes from people who know the mess isn't theirs too. Clean. I felt my stomach drop before I saw the cars lined up along my driveway. SUVs and sedans crowding in, even a golf cart wedged between two trucks. My brand new fence gate, the one I locked every single morning, was hanging wide open like an invitation nobody ever sent. Walking into the backyard felt like stumbling into someone else's dream, one of those bad dreams where you're powerless and everyone else is celebrating. 50 people, maybe more. Kids cannonballing into the pool I'd just finished building 2 weeks back. Adults parked on my new deck chairs, drinks in hand, like they'd always belonged there. A huge speaker was blasting pop music so loud it rattled my kitchen windows. Somebody had rolled my grill out from under the patio, grease popping and dripping onto the concrete, leaving a mark that would stick around longer than their memories. And standing in the middle of it all, like the queen of chaos, was Karen, the HOA president, sunglasses, clipboard, wine glass, and that air of authority she wore like a badge. She spotted me and waved, not a care in the world. "Oh, you're early. We decided to host the community pool day here this year. Hope you don't mind. Your house is technically HOA property now." It just made sense. I swear, for a second, I thought maybe I was the one trespassing. Pool floats bobbed around, soda cans drifting. My daughter's pink towel, her pride and joy, trampled in the mud. Somebody had scrawled "pool party" in chalk across my patio, like that made it official. Karen grinned like she'd just done me a favor. "Don't worry, we'll clean up after. You already know how that went." So I just stood there, holding my anger like a hot coal in my fist, watching strangers swim in my pool, put their feet on my furniture, invade my peace, and act like it was all owed to them. I didn't yell, didn't argue. I just said, "You're all swimming in my patience, not my pool. And if you're listening from somewhere far away, just know, there are people everywhere standing on the same side of the fence, fighting the same battles against HOA insanity." The next morning should have meant quiet, sprinklers, birds, a little peace. But not that day. My name's James Carter. I moved to Crescent Ridge 2 years ago for exactly this. Peace, quiet, a backyard where my kid could swim and laugh and feel like we'd made it. That miracle, as she called it, was a war zone by sunrise. The pool water was cloudy and gray, napkins and food wrappers bobbing on top, a half-eaten burger floating like some weird trophy. My new lounge chairs, 2 of them cracked, one leg snapped clean off. Soggy paper plates piled in the flower beds. Somebody had dumped a whole cooler of ice onto the grass, turning my lawn into mud. The grill reeked of burnt grease. Worst of all, my daughter's homemade birthday banner, ripped and hanging from the umbrella. Claire, my wife, stepped outside, her coffee cup shaking a little. "Oh my God, what did they do?" she whispered. She didn't need an answer. Our daughter Emma, hair still wild from sleep, stopped dead when she saw the pool. "Dad, can we still have my party?" The filter was clogged, water murky, the whole thing ruined. Claire knelt beside her. "Not this weekend, honey. Maybe next time." And I watched that disappointment in Emma's eyes, the kind that sticks around a long time. As I was taking it all in, I noticed a white envelope taped to our front door. HOA notice. Maintenance fees and cleanup costs will be divided equally among participating households. Claire just laughed, bitter. They trashed our yard and want us to pay for it. And you know what? There was this calm that settled in. Not rage, just this cold, deliberate focus. This wasn't a party. This was people with power deciding what they wanted was theirs, then daring you to say otherwise. I threw the notice in with the rest of the trash. If they wanted a lesson in community, I'd show them what community really costs. That evening, I went to the clubhouse, smelled like carpet cleaner and control. Monthly community meeting was scrawled on the board. They were going to justify what happened in my backyard, make it sound like I should thank them. Karen sat at the head, pearls gleaming, shuffling papers like a judge. "First, thanks to everyone who made our annual pool day such a success." Some clapped, some glanced at me. Her gaze cut like glass. Of course, we had a few concerns about property boundaries, but the HOA's goal is unity. Sometimes that means sharing spaces. I heard the manipulation in her voice. Rick from landscaping started talking insurance, making sure private spaces used for gatherings were protected. She was trying to retroactively legalize trespass. An older neighbor, Mrs. Lang, piped up. "Wasn't that Mr. Carter's pool?" Karen smiled, syrupy sweet. "Technically, but since it's adjacent to the community area, it's what we call a shared visibility zone. It's complicated but legally flexible." She thrived on confusion. I kept quiet, thumb pressing record in my pocket, every word captured. "If anyone feels violated or disrespected, that's not our intent," she said, pretending it was all hypothetical. She turned to me. "James, you were such a good sport about the whole thing." Everyone stared. "Of course," I said, steady. "I understand perfectly." There was a flicker in her eyes. Wasn't sure if I was agreeing or warning her. Meeting ended. Karen passed me. Perfume sweet and thick. "Glad we're on the same page," she whispered. But she had no idea. My recorder had every word. That's how you fight gaslighting. Not with arguments, but with evidence. The next few days, the air in Crescent Ridge changed. Neighbors stopped waving. People shut doors a little faster. You could feel the fear in the silence. That's how control works in places like this. The Aldens, my next-door neighbors, warned me in hushed voices. Unofficial rules, the kind you don't write down. I started watching the clubhouse at night. Cars coming and going after midnight. Not paranoia, just patterns. A week later, I spotted something in my pool. Just a reflection, maybe a camera, maybe not. But the point was clear. They were preparing, not reacting. That's how you know. You're up against a system. Then the HOA app dinged. Recreation maintenance fee for $120. Every address listed alphabetically, except mine. Mine was tagged Event Host Property Allocation, 80%. They were charging me for the mess, billing me for their own party. I started digging, screenshots, expense reports, every PDF, every signature. Event host, Carter residence. They turned my backyard into a line item. I backed up every file, printed every page. Redundancy. Evidence. When Claire saw my binder, she just shook her head. "You sound like your old self again." I was. When people play dirty, order is its own kind of revenge. Then, 1 week later, a letter came, official, threatening. Notice of violation, unauthorized gatherings. They were fining me for the party they threw in my backyard. Suspension of voting privileges, legal collection proceedings, all signed by Karen. Claire said, "Don't let her drag you in." But she knew I was in. I drafted my response, attached Karen's own reports, sent it certified mail. This wasn't about emotion, it was about precision. Let her read her own signature and choke on it. A day later, I pulled out the original property binder, found a paragraph I'd missed before. Pool and adjacent yard remain a private non-common element, exempt from any shared use under HOA charter. There it was, black and white. My lawyer confirmed it. HOA has no jurisdiction. Their fines were void. But the twist? A new neighbor, Marcus, XPI, dropped by with board meeting minutes, handwritten, with a red line. Annual community use, Carter. They'd voted to use my property, buried it in the notes, then fined me for being there. Marcus had recordings, too. Turns out, when you expose people, they either fight back or they melt. "Start with the paper," he said. Paper never lies. The next HOA meeting, I came ready. Karen tried to spin it. Shared community spaces, unity. I stood up, read from my deed, quoted their own bylaws. The room went quiet. So, the HOA fabricated expenses, held unauthorized events, and billed the residents. I asked. Her mask cracked. "Let's not turn this into a courtroom, James. We're not neighbors when you trespass," I replied. I walked out, leaving her scrambling in front of everyone. Days later, Alan, the HOA secretary, showed up at my door, folder in hand. "I can't keep watching this," he said. Inside, invoices, real meeting notes, evidence of Karen rewriting minutes and hiding expenses. "You were the trigger," he admitted. "Now half the board wants out." Proof enough to make her sweat. Marcus and I put together everything. Financials, legal docs, witness statements. We sent it, anonymously, to the county. When the inspectors came, Karen tried to manage the optics, but you can't smile your way through an audit. A week after the audit, the county report came out, 10 pages, every dollar misused. Every rule broken. At the emergency meeting, Karen tried to spin it, but halfway through, The county officials walked in, read the findings out loud, and Alan made a motion to dissolve the board. Effective immediately, Karen was finished. 3 weeks later, Crescent Ridge felt human again. The pool was clean. Emma's birthday party finally happened, laughter echoing across our backyard. Neighbors chatting freely for the first time in months. Marcus brought a box of pool toys. Normal, he said, and that word felt like gold. One night, I found a note on the mailbox. Thank you for standing up. We forgot what fairness looked like. No signature. Didn't need one. So here's the thing. Maybe they called it community, but what they really built was control. True community? That's built on respect. You can't force it. You can only earn it. And wherever you're watching from, tell me your story. Because the real fight is just starting, and we're building something stronger than any HOA, an actual community.